In football, only one team can win, especially when it comes to the World Cup. So for some, there is joy, for others, there is sorrow. But even though France have done well to win this World Cup, I think Croatia can definitely hold their heads high as someone who actually gave France a good run for their money. But it has ended 4-2 in favor of the French. They are the 2018 World Cup champions, and it was a fantastic game of football. For a minute we didn't know which way it was going to go, and we were saying in our earlier episode of Just Kicking It that even though the French were behind on stats, they have shown time and time again in this tournament that stats mean nothing if you don't score enough goals, and today they did just that. They scored, of course there was one own goal in there. It was a bit controversial given that some believe, especially Rodney was saying as well, that he wasn't too sure about the penalty, rather the free kick decision that led to that goal. But it's all said and done. 4-2 is how it's ended. Sarah, run us through some stats and some of those key moments in this game.
Well, of course, it ended 4-2 in favor of the French. France had 7 shots in the entire game, 6 of which were on target, only 34% possession. But like we've been saying before, they have come through other games with the win despite not having anything in terms of possession. Croatia, 2 goals, 14 shots, 4 on target. So Croatia, even though they had the build-up, clearly there were problems, in the second half, especially in getting the shots off, or at least getting them on target, because for 4 out of your 14 shots to be the shots that went to the keeper or challenged the keeper in some way, that means there are some issues in terms of the finishing. We thought going up front in the second half, Croatia looked a little bit sloppier than they did in the first half. It could be because of the pressure to come and score goals. Of course, France registered their 2 goals in the second half before Croatia came back and got 1 back. But then, it's immense pressure to try and get 2 more goals in order to force the game into extra time, 3 goals to win it outright. So I think that pressure caused some cracks in the Croatian attack in particular, because the pressure is on them to get the goals, to get something out of this. But a very strong showing. They made France work for their second title. Of course, France, this is their second World Cup. 20 years ago they won their first World Cup in 1998. Didier Deschamps was the captain in that instance. Now he's the coach, so he has 2 World Cup medals on either side, from the bench and on the field as well.
And he's one of just 3 persons to have ever completed this double. The other 2 being Mario Zagallo and Franz Beckenbauer, who both won the World Cup as player and as a manager. And it's definitely a fantastic achievement for anyone. So congrats to France, they've done very well. They showed a different side of them in the second half. They started off the game on the back foot. They were trying to attack, things weren't working out. I would have loved to be a fly on the wall in the France dressing room during halftime to hear what Didier Deschamps said, because as a man who has had all that World Cup experience, it would have been fantastic to hear what he would have said that would have sparked the kind of change that we saw in the French attack and in their build-up play. They came out a completely different team in the second half and showed that they wanted to win the World Cup, which I think was missing from the first 45.
Well, I think they probably worked with the strategy in the first half of letting the opponents have the possession and then trying to hit them on the counter, or when they do get the ball, to make something out of it. So they were seeing possession as not being essential to their victory. In the second half, they stepped things up just a little bit. They still didn't have that much possession, but they were a more threatening team in general in the second half. And from the time especially they started to move forward into the Croatian half, you sense that danger. Every time they move forward, we actually thought a goal was going to come out of it. Speaking of which, goals, Kylian Mbappe got a goal and became only the second teenager ever to score in a World Cup final. The only teenager before to have scored in the final, of course, Pele, all the way back in 1958, I think it was. Yes, it was, and Pele got a brace in that game as well, to beat Sweden to the World Cup title on that occasion. And just a fun fact too, this is France's second World Cup title, and they joined the likes of Argentina and Uruguay in having 2 titles. So they're on their way to maybe challenging Brazil and Germany and so on, Italy, 4 or 5 stars there. So they get to add that second star to their uniform. Sorry, Croatia couldn't add it as well.
Yeah.
It's such a nice feature on the shirt. You know?
Croatia, I honestly think deserved to win the World Cup. However, France obviously showed why they are a world-class team. They showed that they have the mental capacity, the stamina, and just the physical ability and wherewithal to go on and win this match. In the second half, especially the second half of the second half, those last few minutes, you saw that Croatia were extremely scrappy, while France were actually completely different from their first half performance, where they were scrappy. France changed their approach in the second half, which is something that I said in the opening, just kicking it for today. I said that France have this ability to adapt on the go. They have adapted in each one of their knockout matches before this World Cup final to basically change the way they approach the game based on how their opponents are going. And when they went into the first half at 2-1, I told Rodney Lange before he left, I said, I feel as though if France goes in 2-1, they will go on to win this game. So said, so done. Unfortunately, I mean, it would have been nice for Croatia to go on and win this World Cup, being a team that has never lifted the trophy before, and seeing how hard they worked to get here.
Well, I think it's the start of good things for Croatia, because let's think about it this way. France did not ever make a final until 1998. That was their first final. They won the World Cup then. Since then, they made the final in 2006, and now they've made the final again. So only 3 appearances in the final. This is Croatia's first final, so it's a matter of inspiration for them for future tournaments. Because just because you've never made it in the past doesn't mean that you won't make it in the future. It's up to them to keep the quality in the team itself. They do have a somewhat mature team. It's not the youngest team around, but they do have veterans capable of showing the younger players exactly how to go about playing exciting football, contender-like football. I know I just made up that phrase, but you know, that type of football that could help you challenge for titles,
and
such as it did in this case.
What this does as well for Croatia is put them on the map for the scouts, not on the world map, because they are a known force in football. They have been around for eons, and what this does is that it gives scouts that heads up to know that, look, if these guys like Modric and Rakitic and even the lesser known faces in this Croatian team that did well, it shows them that Croatia obviously has the ability to produce good talent. Maybe we should be looking there as well to bring persons into the Premier League, to bring persons into La Liga, Bundesliga. And I feel as though, like Sarah said, this is a start of good things for Croatia. France, of course, they have been for a very long time a force to be reckoned with. Came into this game as favourites, didn't show it so much in the first half, but in the second half they showed exactly why France was in this case the team to beat. And they were one of the favourites early on in this World Cup. But you know what I'm excited about? I'm excited to see what happens in the next 4 years with France, because we've seen this so-called hex, this voodoo, this spell that's been cast on teams that won the World Cup to go on and exit the group stage.
That's happened in the last 3 consecutive tournaments, and I just realized something, right? And I know I keep bringing it up only because I feel so happy about it. I called 3 teams at the start of the tournament before it even started. Brazil, England, France. Brazil, of course, made it all the way to the quarterfinal. England made it to the semi-final. France made it to the final and ended up lifting the trophy. So, I mean, I feel good, because I said at the start of the tournament, looking at these particular teams on paper, I actually thought Brazil had the strongest squad because they had so many players who were coming off fantastic domestic seasons, coming together on the team. It's a matter of whether or not they clicked as a team. France as well had such quality on paper. And England, I think England not living up to the potential fully. I mean, Harry Kane was a delight to watch in the opening stages, but then sort of fizzled out in the knockouts. He didn't score anything. He's going to get the Golden Boot anyway, because he has 6 goals to his name. Antoine Griezmann, I think, moves on to 4. So he, unless he was going to pick up a lot of goals, and I mean, we didn't even think so many goals were going to score in this match. So Harry Kane has that Golden Boot locked down. Who do you think is going to get the best player award?
That's a good question, because there have been a lot of players throughout this tournament who have done well off the ball, not necessarily scoring goals, but has provided that sort of cog that a team needs. Griezmann is to me one of those players who he may not have scored many goals and been at the top of the goal scorers list, but he has been so influential in what he has done. So it's a good question. I'm not certain who's going to win. That's one that I'll have to wait and see what happens. But Griezmann did win man of the match today. For those who are wondering, he did produce a very good performance today, and deservedly so. I think he went on to win man of the match. He had a goal there today, a couple of attempts on target, and he had 2 shots on target as well, covering a distance of 10 kilometers in this game. That just goes to show you the amount of effort someone like Griezmann puts in.
And he was enthusiastic on the ball
Exactly.
as well, chasing it from defender to defender, trying to dispossess them. I think the award for Golden Glove though is going to be a little bit tougher because I was thinking Hugo Lloris going into this match, but he made a very a bad error which allowed Mario Mandzukic to score. Mandzukic basically took the ball off of Lloris's feet in the area to score the goal. So that was a big mistake.
Yeah.
So I think it may work against him to a certain extent for Golden Glove.
I think, I think it may go to someone that we really don't expect. And I say that because now the Golden Glove is chosen a bit differently than a few years ago. Whereas a long time ago they would have gone by clean sheets and stats. However, now it's a judging panel that looks at performances and not just the stats, but what sort of impact someone has on a performance, on the team's performance, which is why I kind of lean towards guys like Guillermo Ochoa of Mexico. Yes, he's actually at the top of the Golden Sheet race, I think, at this moment. And that to me shows that he has class, but it was also how important he was to Mexico and their performances throughout this tournament. So it's a tough decision to make, and I do not envy the judging panel that has to make that decision.
I was going to say Subasic as well because of his heroics in their 2 penalty shootouts, but he conceded 4 goals today. So
yeah, I don't think he could have done too much about what happened today. I think it was too many. There were too many lapses in defense. For example, that goal that Pogba scored, Modric's back was to Pogba. Now he, of course, being a human, would brace and try to get himself out of the way to not get in contact with that shot, because Pogba hits the ball extremely hard and no one would want to get in the way. The first shot was blocked, but 2 of them, him and another defender, turned away and had their back to Pogba. And I think that was a momentary lapse in defense that kind of caused that goal to happen. And that one, I don't think Subasic could have really done too much about it. And the penalty, well, penalties are 50-50. No one knows what's going to happen with those, and you just kind of have to hope that luck is on your side or that you can guess correctly. So I don't think this game really would affect his performance too much in terms of the way it's seen by judges, at least if they think along the lines that I'm thinking. I don't know how they're going to think about it, but me personally, he hasn't lost any points for me today. I guess in the moment I did ask, like, what is he doing? But thinking about it in hindsight and looking at the replays, a lot of the shots were extremely well placed, especially that Mbappe goal.
yes.
That was so well placed. And I mean, as a goalkeeper, there's an old saying that you have to be crazy to want to be a goalkeeper. And that holds true even to today, especially with the way football has evolved.
I think goalkeeping is it's the toughest job on the team because you can be a hero making these against the odds saves at times, but at the same time sometimes there's absolutely nothing a keeper could do, and so I mean you go down as not having a clean sheet. So it's so easy to blame the keeper on occasions, as it is so easy sometimes to praise the keeper. So I think it is definitely one of the toughest jobs around, and something as small as a lapse in judgment on the field of play itself, a lot of times you could depend on your teammates to pick up slack if you drop the ball, figuratively speaking. But in the case of goalkeepers, a single error could change the course of the game. It could lead to the goal. Karius proved that in the Champions League final.
Hugo Lloris almost proved that today.
Yeah, he proved that he made a mistake and it resulted in a goal. Thank God France had a lot more goals, so it didn't really matter in the end. But just to recap though, there was a player who scored 2 goals today. Mario Mandzukic scored for France and against France. Kylian Mbappe got a goal. Paul Pogba got a goal. Antoine Griezmann converted a penalty. And of course, I think one of the most beautiful goals of the tournament, Ivan Perisic in the first half. So
I think
I
that's
go-
definitely a contender
Yeah.
for goal of the tournament. Just in case you missed that goal, so there was a header coming back from the goal line, that very last line of the football field. That header came back to Ivan Perisic, but however, he had about 3 defenders in front of him. He brought it down from the air with his right foot, brought it onto his left side, took a couple long strides away from the defense, got into a nice angle, shot that ball off of his left foot with a beautiful half volley, and ended up into the back of the net. That for me is a goal of the tournament contender, as well as that goal for Belgium, where Lukaku made the dummy, and I think it was Chadley ended up scoring. So it will be interesting to see what goal gets goal of the tournament, because we've had a lot of fantastic football throughout this tournament.
I think the two I remember distinctly, Pavard for France in
Yeah.
one of the knockout stages, as well as Angel Di Maria against France, I believe, in the round of 16. Now, the thing about those two goals, those stood out for me because they literally came out of nowhere. You would just be watching your TV, not expecting, you're not getting that sense of expectancy that,
Yeah.
you know, a goal is building up and it's going to happen. It just literally came out of nowhere and just hit you
Yeah.
out of the blue. And I think that because it came out of nothing. I know the Di Maria goal in particular was way outside the area, and it was so unexpected because it was so perfectly placed. Even though it was from a distance, there was nothing the keeper could really do for it. So I wouldn't be surprised if that one in particular is a bit closer in contention.
So the awards have now begun, post-game awards, of course, for the entire competition. We will leave you all to go on to look at these awards, but as we leave, we're seeing that young Kylian Mbappe has received the Young Player of the Tournament award.
Not surprising.
Not surprisingly, because today he became part of a very, very elite and exclusive
Only the
club.
second member, it's a two-man
It's a
club.
two-man club of him and Pele, and I'm just now looking here
That's
at
not a
FIFA.
bad club to be in.
Pele actually, his social media team, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
I highly doubt he'd be sitting down behind a computer.
You never
tweeting.
know.
I highly doubt it.
Zlatan Ibrahimovic does his own tweeting.
Pele and his folks here, he actually paid tribute to young Kylian Mbappe, welcoming him into this club, which is a very exclusive club, and I think that is a fantastic club to be in. I don't care what team you're playing for. If you're part of that club,
You're in a club with Pele. You're in a club with
you
Pele.
have arrived. You have definitely arrived in the world of
And
football.
remember, he's just 19 years old.
He has a long, long
he has
career.
a long career ahead of him.
Yeah. So I'm seeing Charles Moore is asking us to say our names. We usually start off by introducing ourselves, but we will do so again. We've been live a couple times today, but for Charles' sake and for those who have just joined, my name is Rayi Rikomas. This is Sarah Chandu, and we are part of the 103 FM news team, and we've been helping you all stay updated with the World Cup and get some in-depth analysis. One of our analyzers and a great analyst, Rodney Elahi, left for the day because he's actually heading down to the Mela, which begins at 4 o'clock today. So if you're a French fan and your team won and you're happy, come on down to Space Lanuba Car Park, where we'll be having our Mela, and come celebrate with us. We're turning 25. We have turned 25 and we're celebrating it. If you want to celebrate France's World Cup win with us, you can feel free to do so, because we have a lot of performances. You can meet the 103 FM family as well, and we'll celebrate with you. I now realize I'm wearing blue today. That's completely coincidental, because this is
I'm
our
wearing blue
event.
today too.
This is our
Jeans.
our event jersey. And if you're a Croatia fan and you're feeling a bit down, seeing that your team has lost, still come on down to the Mela, where we'll help cheer you up with some great music, and we can have some fun and take your mind off of what has happened today. But again, from Rai Rikomas and Sarah Chandu and the Just Kicking It team, we shall sign off for the very
Until the
last
next 4
time.
years.
For the very last time for this year, until the next 4 years, when we have another World
we
Cup.
have Euro, we have qualifiers, we have a lot of
Yeah,
things.
we have a
going on
lot
before
of football to come, and you will be hearing more from the Just Kicking It team. We have plans to maybe expand it into something a bit more. We'll roll all of that out as time goes along. So it's not going to be the last you're going to hear from us in terms of football and sports in general from this sort of a medium, i.e. Facebook Live. We will be doing a lot more as time goes along. But thank you very much for joining us. For those who have joined us throughout the entire series, We started
been a fantastic
so long ago.
journey.
Yeah, we started
Yes.
so long ago, and it's been a wonderful journey to be able to bring these updates to you. And for the few of you that have remained on the live stream to the very end here, thank you in particular as well for sticking with us. I know sometimes we talk for a very, very long time.
We just love football
But
so
we just get
much.
so excited about football that we can't help it. So thank you very much from the Just Kicking It team from 103 FM here at our location in Barataria. We say thank you very much for joining us. That's a wrap for Just Kicking It. That's a wrap for the World Cup. Congratulations to France. Commiserations to Croatia.